Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to part 3 of my laundry room mini-series. If you're joining me from my last video, I just finished making a bunch of joist hangers for today's project. So I'm not entirely sure why my old washer went. From this it kinda looks like the arbor in the motor was bent, but I have no idea how that would have happened. We just had several loads in a row decide not to drain and was accompanied with a fairly heavy melting smell. So my wife and I figured it was time to just replace both the washer and the dryer. We came to the conclusion that the slope in the floor for the floor drain probably did not help matters, so we decided to build a level laundry platform. I began by digging out some of the 2x12s that I've been storing for the better part of a year and began breaking them down, starting with ripping them down to 6 inches width. The heater came in handy here because, with the multiple times I blew the breaker, I wasn't left in complete darkness. After I had the boards ripped down, I took all but 2 of them over to the miter saw to cut the joists to their final length and loaded them into the house. I let them acclimatize inside for a day or so. Once I was ready to start construction inside, I began by, first I had to move the boards back out of my way, but then I started pulling the baseboards off the wall, trying to keep them as intact as possible, as I had not yet decided if I wanted to salvage them or not. When doing this, I find that it is a good idea to run a knife between the top of the baseboard and the wall. This is to cut any caulking or paint that may be there. This way the baseboard is a lot easier to pull off the wall and it doesn't rip off any of the drywall paper off the wall. And then go back around and either remove or knock the nails that were left behind into the wall. I just grabbed the closest thing, which happened to be my channel locks. Then I started on the actual platform. Since the highest point in my floor is the back wall, or so I thought, I started here. I didn't want the platform to interfere with the water main, so I measured up to it and will build around it. Once I had it cut, I leveled it and secured it to the wall. Once I put the right side up, I realized that the floor actually lifts up another ½ inch. So after leveling and installing the right side, I had to readjust the back. Then I repeated the process with the front and left sides, trying to keep it all tidy as I went, since once I put the deck up on here, I won't be able to get under here again. After I had all 4 sides of the platform secured, I took some time and fastened the joist hangers to the joists. I figured this was best so I would have access to all of the holes I had drilled to screw the hanger onto the joists, realizing I wouldn't have access to the ones on the bottom if I installed the hangers onto the stringers first. When that was finished and I had stumbled around for a while to regain feeling in my legs, I began to install the joists. I installed the joists at 12 inch on center, which is probably closer than I needed, but I figured a fully loaded washing machine would weigh a fair bit, and I didn't want the platform collapsing on me. Well, not on me, but you know what I mean. Working around the water main threw me for a bit of a loop. However, once I realized that this portion of the platform was not going to need to support nearly as much weight, it was made a lot easier. Now that the structure for the platform is done, it's time to move on to the decking. For this I chose a 3/4 inch thick sheet of aspen plywood. My wife and I really liked the look of this with a simple coat of polyurethane, so that's what we went with. It helps that my basement is in complete disrepair at the moment, so I have a nice spot for finishing. For this I went with 2 coats of polyurethane, a light sanding, and then a 3rd coat of polyurethane. Once the polyurethane had dried, I cut the plywood to the final length and notched out the section for the water main. Now it's time to do a little jig to kick the deck into place. Now that the plywood is in place, I tried to get Aries and Apollo to help out a little bit, but they were kind of useless. Once I got them out of the way, I secured it around the perimeter with some screws. Last but not least, I picked up a piece of metal stair nosing to finish off the edge. This covers up the plywood edge and protects it from chipping out over time. The last step here was to actually install baseboards around the sides and back of the platform, but I'm going to do that off camera another day. Overall, we're pretty happy with how this turned out. The new washer and dryer aren't constantly walking themselves to the middle of the room since they're on a level surface now. And since the new washer dryer are front load, the platform lifts them up just that little bit higher off the ground, so it's not completely miserable to get in and out of them. And with that, we've come to the end of my laundry room mini-series. If you haven't seen them yet, please check out the other 2 videos in the series. I'll have them linked in the description below. Otherwise, I'll be back next week with a new project video. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.